This is part 2 of 3.07, reviewing metals and nonmetals. And so I left you off with the question of nonmetals generally form negative ions. Why? Well, if we look at our periodic table, let's look over here at fluorine and the other halogens. They have how many valence electrons? 7, because they're in group 7A. And so are they going to lose all 7 or gain 1? They're going to gain an electron. So they're gaining one more negative piece. So they have one more electron than they do protons. So it's got an extra negative or a -1 charge. If we look at oxygen, oxygen has how many valence electrons? 6. How many total electrons does it want in its outer shell? They all want 8. So is it going to lose 6 or gain 2? It's going to gain 2 electrons. So it's 2 more of these negative electrons, which gives it a -2 charge. Remember, with the exception of hydrogen H in group 1A, all nonmetals are in the top right-hand corner of the periodic table in groups 4A to 8A. Nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, and the noble gases, group 8A, are all gases at room temperature. Bromine is a liquid at room temperature, and all other nonmetals are solid at room temperature. Again, you don't need to memorize that. It's on your periodic table. Bromine is outlined in blue to show that it's liquid, and these are outlined in red to show that they are gases. The rest, of course, are solid at room temperature. Nonmetal atoms tend to form negatively charged ions, so those are anions. What do we call positive ions? Cations. All right, let's look at the example. Example 1, use the periodic table to identify nonmetals. Phosphorus, a solid that comes in colors ranging from white to reddish black, is found in a variety of different products such as explosives, pesticides, toothpaste, and detergents. Is phosphorus a nonmetal? So look over here, or we can look at our periodic table. Phosphorus has a pink background, which for our periodic table means that it is a nonmetal. Describe the physical properties of nonmetals. Sulfur, capital S, is an element that is widely used in fertilizers, matches. Okay, so when you light a match, that smell, that's sulfur. Or they say the smell of rotten eggs, sulfur. Gunpowder and insecticides. It forms dull and brittle yellow crystals at room temperature. Is sulfur a metal or nonmetal? Answer without looking at the periodic table. So recall relevant information. Unlike metals, most nonmetals are brittle. That is, they break instead of bending or stretching when they are put under stress. In their solid form, most nonmetals are not shiny like metals. Sulfur has physical characteristics shared by nonmetals, include being dull and brittle as a solid. Therefore, sulfur is a nonmetal. Tip: nonmetals tend to have a wider variety of colors than metals have. Even a single nonmetal can have a range of colors. For example, carbon can exist as a black solid, charcoal, or as a colorless solid, diamond. And as you know, there's different colors of diamonds as well. All right, so use the periodic table and tell me if it is a metal or nonmetal. Argon, metal or nonmetal? It's hot pink. It's in the noble gases. All the pinks are nonmetal. All right, what about Si? Silicon. Well, it's got an orange background, which means it is a metalloid. And we'll talk about those next. And let's do one more. Let's do iodine. Iodine right here. Is it a metal or nonmetal or metalloid? Well, it's the halogen color, and it is a form of pink, which on our periodic table is a nonmetal. I know we didn't do the ones that they said, but that's all right. Xenon, Xe, is an element found in some kinds of light bulbs, is an odorless, colorless gas at room temperature. It is inert, so it doesn't react easily with other elements. Is it a metal or nonmetal? Answer without looking at the periodic table. So hit pause, think about it. Answer is, well, it's a gas. and only nonmetals are gases at room temperature. So that's your first indication that because it's a gas, it has to be a nonmetal. When they say it's inert, it doesn't react. Okay, so what kind of nonmetal is it? It's a noble gas. It's not going to react because it has a full outer shell. Fluorine and chlorine are both gases at room temperature. When they react with other metals, they tend to form a negatively charged ions very easily. Are fluorine and chlorine metals or nonmetals? Answer without looking at the periodic table. So hit pause, get your answer. Answer is, again, because they are gases at room temperature, we automatically know that they are nonmetals. If we look on our periodic table, it means they're outlined in red. So hydrogen, which is a nonmetal, and then over here, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, and the noble gases are all gas at room temperature. And so nothing else is. So the metals are all solid at room temperature except for which metal? Except for mercury. Mercury is liquid at room temperature. All right. And that is it for this one. So when you're ready, go ahead and take the quiz.